I'm Cheryl Hicks, the Executive Director and CEO of the Toilet Board Coalition. We're a global business-led platform building the sanitation economy. We've been supporting business solutions for sanitation, hygiene, digitized solutions, circular sanitation solutions over the past 5 years. And this video series is meant to shed a spotlight on many of those solutions that exist, the pioneering entrepreneurs and businesses behind them, and how they can be applied in our new heightened awareness around the importance of sanitation and hygiene in our COVID-19 world. I'm really pleased to have with me today Jeff Hallowell, the founder and CEO of Biomass Controls. Biomass Controls is an impressive company that is innovating in many ways and all the time, with now multiple solutions for the sanitation economy. Jeff, I would love for you to start us off by talking about your inspiration for the founding of Biomass Controls and your journey.
Sure. Thank you, Cheryl. Yeah, so our inspiration was really around initially air emissions and what can be done about greenhouse gases and pollution. And then it was an invitation to be part of the Reinvent a Toilet Challenge back in 2013 that really got us focused on the sanitation economy and really looking at
the Gates Foundation initiative. The Bill and Melinda
Yes.
Gates Foundation initiative.
Absolutely, yeah. Yeah, Bill and Melinda Gates. So that started actually in Delhi. And it still goes on today, and innovations are still continuing in all of the different sections of the sanitation economy.
And can you talk about what some of those innovations are? What does Biomass Controls do?
So part of our solution was looking at what would be used for treating resources from communities of 500 to 50,000 people. So that was kind of our slot, is once you have the toilet resources, what do you do with them? So for community and residential toilets, bring them to a local facility. So it's a decentralized approach. And we use heat, just like you would boil water to make it clean. We're using thermal energy to make sure that the output is clean, but also we're doing volume reduction. We're doing nutrient recovery, especially carbon, and we're doing pathogen treatment. So we're producing that as part of the output for the sanitation economy. We're concerned about mitigation of greenhouse gases. We use that as part of our fuel, ethanes and methanes that are created from the resources, and then also soil health by using a product that we can put back in the soil that's rich in carbon that can replace what's been taken out through farming.
Multiple examples of how sanitation can also be circular, and toilet resources have huge value in many ways. And I think Biomass Controls is a company that is really leveraging those multiple possibilities. And so it's great to have you here shedding a spotlight on that for those that may not know about it. And Jeff, I had the chance, as you know, to visit one of your sites in India, in Way. And what occurred to me was this solution that you've created is a fantastic mini-grid approach, essentially that many cities can be adopting where centralized systems are not available. Can you talk a little bit about that development and how it's grown, how it's evolved to really be I think a rural and an urban solution?
Sure. So we have 3 sites in India, Why, Narsapur, and Warangal. And Why, the one that you visited, actually all of them were targeted to be around 9,000 liters per day treatment, which was around 9,000 people. Why has actually grown the fastest, and they're up to about 30,000 people, 30,000 liters per day, with a scale plan to go up to 70,000 liters per day. So it's a rural place. They're known for growing strawberries. So soil health is very important in the area, and sanitation. They started, working with the ODF, the Open Defecation Free for India, then Open ODF Plus and ODF Plus Plus. So they needed a treatment solution. Our partner there was SEPT, and our operator and coordinator there was Thai Technocrats. And we use local people to do that. We use some local resources for some manufacturing. And actually, they've just started taking in toilet resources from a quarantine site. So full PPE now. So before, safety was important, but now they're wearing full PPE, full suits, full masks, where before they were just using mostly masks, boots and gloves. So that's increased, that safety has increased, and providing a solution that normally wouldn't be provided in a non-sewered location is very important. There's a lot of places in India that are non-sewered, that are far out there. It would cost them a fortune to be able to do that, and to be able to provide that non-sewered treatment is really important, and it's doing really well. We just hit a 10 million liter treatment at that facility, and that continues to lead all of the sites right now.
I mean, so tremendous growth, and this is waste that often ends up in communities and cities as pollution, causing tremendous, having tremendous health impacts as we're seeing with COVID-19, the incredible vulnerabilities there. And so your solution is really taking that waste out of society and as you're saying, turning it into a material that can also be a solution for food and agriculture. How many, Jeff, can you talk a little bit about that impact? I mean, how many people have you really helped to uplift and improve their livelihoods, even just at one site?
So even at that one site, first of all, there's women managers that run it. So it's a new economy, and it's a new profession for women. And so we have some very talented young women there that are running that site. So not only are we helping out economically, but also improving gender, SDG 5, but also we're helping out the community. So in that community, about thousand people. So going that 10 million mark is really equivalent to treating the resources of about 10 million people. So it's quite an impact over 2 years. But that community, otherwise that waste would be just going into the river, and again, it would be untreated. And especially with COVID and a concern over viruses, bacteria, and protozoa, it's very important that we are not causing disease there, that we're actually preventing it. And as you know, about 2,000 children die every day from sanitation-related diseases. So trying to do our part here in this one little town, I think it's making a big difference.
Absolutely, and it's a business solution, which the Toilet Board Coalition really advocates that the role of business in sanitation and the sanitation economy has the potential to transform the costs, as you said earlier, of the provision of sanitation and waste management into really sustainable and resilient marketplaces of opportunity. Can you talk a little bit about your business model? And I know you have multiple revenue streams, multiple angles to your business model. Would love to hear that story as well.
Sure. So our business model really sprang out of some of the challenges for the Bill and Melinda Gates Reinvent the Toilet Challenge, which is to provide a service for a nickel per person per day. So our goal on the solid side is a nickel per person per day, but our goal by 2025 is to do a penny, because we believe that that's going to be more affordable. That might be done through not only distributed systems, but possibly portable systems, either where you have to bring the treatment to the material to be able to bring the costs down. So our business model has been working with operators. Right now we've evolved and pivoted through COVID, where because of quarantines and lockdowns, we're actually moving more aggressively to local licensing, local manufacturing, and we've gotten the support of the Gates Foundation from that as well. So we now have a local manufacturer in South Africa. We're also close to signing an agreement in India as well. So that'll have a bigger impact, where some of the wealth will be passed on to the community. So then we'll be moving more into the smart sanitation, which is our other piece, where we would then just provide the controls. The systems would actually be built in the country. We would provide the controls, the software, and then we would do the online monitoring. So we're very quickly moving from an infrastructure as a service model to a software as a service model, where we'll be providing that evidence-based sanitation to show that the treatment happened at the right temperatures, and that we did meet some of the new standards coming, like the ISO 31800.
And can you talk a little bit about the technology, because you are one of the first solutions really demonstrating how sanitation systems, decentralized sanitation systems, can be digitized, and the benefits of that. Can you talk about the technology application?
Right. So our technology really was fueled by our goal to have low emissions. Our goal long-term is zero emissions. But to be able to do that, you have to make it smart. So we do have oxygen sensors in there. We're managing time and temperature. And we're also not trying to, we're trying to preserve as many of the nutrients as possible. So that technology, when we started working with it and monitoring it remotely, turned into reporting and a development of 10 key performance indicators that we use to measure performance. And what's really helpful is when you can compare it to the different sites, like in India, you can see where the operator will run it differently and some will do better, kind of like they're doing monitoring for a lot of things now to help improvement. And so we will be able to remotely be able to update the systems, be able to do localization so that it runs better. As we know in India, there are washers. In Africa, working there, there are wipers, so you have different inputs. Also, we worked on some applications where we have menstrual products, and we now have requests for processing masks. So what are we going to do with that? How are we going to safely dispose of our masks and things like that? So all that technology needs to be adjusted, has to be smart, and it has to be able to adapt to not only different values of the input, but also different moisture levels and different feedstocks, as different things are now put into the toilet as considered as toilet resource.
I think that's really important. I think that's really important. I want to pick up on that because it's not just the the sewage that you are treating and monitoring and providing a solution for, but as you said, it's also feminine hygiene products. It's now health and safety products related to infection control. Talk about those areas because as we know in India. The safe disposal of feminine hygiene products is a top priority for the government.
Right. So early on, we got support from one of the members of the TBC, Kimberly Clark, and they were very helpful working with us to look for a resource recovery and safe disposal. So we did some trials in different sites and looking for how would we recover that, how would we do safe disposal, how would we do any pre-processing of the material as it comes in? And we were able to come up with a couple of different solutions that we're using in different locations. I won't go into detail on that, but I think it's an important thing that you do have to be able to process that. And I think now adding masks and other things in there as well as part of PPE and how do we treat that really has to be part of the sanitation economy moving forward.
And Jeff, how have you seen the product side evolving? So we've been talking about the treatment side, and you mentioned in the beginning multiple opportunities to use that waste and upcycle that waste. Can you talk a little bit about some of those examples? You mentioned strawberries earlier, but can you take us through some of the examples of how the waste is being used and who the customers are?
Sure. So early on, our reuse at the site was for odor. So right now, off of our dryers, we actually use the carbon-based product as a way to reduce odor in the area and try to get it to, again, zero is our goal. But carbon is also used for filtration. So even when we run it through the water through the process of making it pathogen-free, you can still filter it out to get rid of the turbidity and the odor as well. The other things we're looking at is what can be added to it to add value. So one of the key things for soil health is a microbial activity. And so actually using frass or output from black soldier flies, it can also be used to mix with the biochar. That the biochar is a sponge. It can hold water, it can hold nutrients. And so that's really important. There's also some natural insecticides out there, and there's also some other bioremediation products that are used for water treatment and other things. So we're trying to look at how can we add value and use that biochar product as the baseline for other value adds. So how can we increase that value 10x or so to make it more viable? Right now it is being sold like in Y as a soil amendment, but we believe we can raise the value by showing that it can't, by adding more components to it that'll make it add more value is going to be important. So I think that's going to really be the secret long term, is figuring out in each area what's the pH, what's needed, and adding that and making it a local solution so it has the highest value for example, strawberries and Y, but also they do cotton in Warrangle. So there's different crops, different pH, and we know we've dealt with the tea plantations as well, different requirements for nutrients. And so making sure that that is a local solution, I think is going to become more and more important.
And, you know, I think you're touching on the differences in context between the different regions where you're operating. And it'd be interesting to understand your experience in both the acceptance, you know, of these new products, especially for agriculture, coming from sewage and toilet resources, and also by region. Is there a preference in different regions for the upcycling into a particular product?
Yeah, so in remote areas, volume reduction is really important because transportation is expensive. And
The water, so dewatering.
Yeah, for water and also for the solids as well. Because remember, in 1 ton of solids is about 85% moisture. So there's really not a lot of nutrients in there as much as you think there is a lot of water in there as well. So water, of course, 70% of water in most regions is used for agriculture. So making sure that you have a safe product that can be used locally on the agriculture is important. But then also being able to replace the nutrients that are being taken out as well. So there's a combination of both. In some areas, the soil amendment is worth more than the water. In some areas, the water is. In India, for example, they had several places that ran out of water last year. So there is a heightened awareness that water is a valuable resource, and having treated water is becoming more and more important. So.
Thank you. And Jeff, and can you talk about and share in this interview, you know, who are the prime beneficiaries of your solution? You know, who should be looking at this as a solution?
Well, certainly rural communities and peri-urban communities should be looking at it, a solution that, again, they don't have to be in the transportation business. Also, for us, it's unique because we're thermal, that we can also work in cold climate. So there are a lot of cold climate places in there, certainly Africa and India, where our has some of the coldest places in the world. So having a solution that works in those cold climates is important. Small companies, schools, I mean, we believe that on-site sanitation will become more important and water reuse locally will become more important long-term. And so we even have some mining operations, small companies that are actually looking at us as well for treatment. And not only just for the toilet resources, but also for food waste as well. You know, there is about 4 times more food waste than human waste, and you have to really take a holistic approach for the community, that they have market waste, those other things. So the next ISO standard 38100 allows for 49% other, which could be food and market waste and ag residue. So really looking for other things. So there's an issue in India, for example, with rice hulls. So in each area, you're going to find a different requirement and different need. And making sure that you have a circular approach to all of those inputs are important in managing, again, the nutrients, the pH, and the moisture to get the best output you can, to have the highest value for the operator.
Thank you, Jeff. This is really timely, you know, a proven solution that is applicable in many different contexts, especially now when the world is looking for solutions to address the heightened demand for sanitation, hygiene, and infection control. So I hope that many are watching. And we are so happy to be working with you at Biomass Controls to learn from your innovation and support your innovation. And congratulations on everything you've done so far and the outlook for the future.
Thank you to you, Cheryl, and for the support of the Toilet Board Coalition. It's been a great experience for us.
Thank you, and namaste.
Yes.